And welcome back again, yours truly, Anthony Parker of Keeping It Honest. We don't just keep it real, we don't just keep it simple, we keep it honest. If you have any questions or comments, you can email yours truly. It's parkerman2011 at gmail.com, parkerman2011 at gmail.com. You want to contact me? Text me, leave me a voice message. Telephone number is 216 702 3718, 216 702 3718. And if you've watched this show, as I tell people, we try to get the left side, we try to give the right side of a story, and at the end, hopefully, you decided that we've given you the truth. You may be upset at what you find out at the end of the program, but at least you will respect what we did or what we've done to give you the truth. And if you don't like it, then contact me. So, we always try to do things with a Parker twist. Seems like election season is literally every season. We have to realize the responsibility of politicians when we put them in place. And if we don't like who we put in place, then we need to vote them out and run or get somebody else to run in their place. So, one of the biggest things across the country is the Atlanta situation with, Fanni Willis, Judge McAfee, Donald Trump. All these guys are under election. We have to think about this. All these people who are maybe infamous, it's time to either vote to keep them in office or vote to take them out. And I've always said that sometimes people are in place because that's where society wants them to be. When you're a politician, you do have a responsibility. So coming up now, Fanni Willis, well known across the country, maybe parts of the world, trying the Donald Trump case. Excuse me. Right now, she has two people who are trying to take her position. One is Republican Courtney Creamer, and one is also Democrat Christian Wise Smith. And it's interesting because these two people you may have heard of, you may not have heard of. So Christian Wise Smith is an attorney. He's also a book author. He does a lot of stuff with kids. And Republican Courtney Creamer, she supposedly has worked with Donald Trump as far as, well, you are who you work with? Don't know. Is she somebody that's running? Supposedly she was involved with the 5 meter votes and a legal tally situation. Here's a picture of her right there. It's circled if you can see it. But she is running the Republican side against Miss Willis. And the one that's running the Democratic side, his name again is Christian Wise Smith. So the interesting thing is they had this debate that was taking place. All three of them were supposed to be there. Fanny couldn't be there because she was out of town. Some say she was at the White House Correspondents' Dinner. Some say she was somewhere else in Florida getting an award. But she did not attend the debate, and neither did Kramer. So the only person, which is funny, who attended this debate was Mr. Smith. And as you'll see throughout this debate, it was just pretty much funny. People were upset because neither one of the two people showed up. And you wondered, okay, well, maybe Miss Kramer, she didn't have a chance. She's Republican. But Fanny, she's in office. And I say, if there's a debate, think about this, Donald, think about this, Biden, and you're in office, then come to that debate. Show people that you still have the love that you had when you first started. So, excuse me, this happened before with Miss Willis, where she didn't show up to a debate. And she decided not to debate Mr. Smith. So Smith has said that too many times elected officials aren't showing up for the community. I want everyone in Fulton County, he says, to know that I will be a DA who is here, who's present, who can reach and touch people. And I want to bring everyone in the community together. So if you remember, when you're first running for office, you're going to go out to the meet and greets. But it's when people get into office that they decide not to do any meet and greets. So community members are kind of upset because, technically, Fanny may feel like, excuse me, she's a shoo-in to get reelected, but you just never know. Okay. Her numbers, her polls are really, really high compared to who she's running against. And maybe she feels that, maybe I shouldn't even have to show up. But some of the people from the community says, and this is from the president of the Concerned Black Clergy, I would have liked for the district attorney to have been there to sit before this community and this historic church and to speak to her community. Wow. I want to hear more about where we are going with this trial, Donald Trump trial, but I also want to hear about the vision in terms of dealing with young people that are coming in the system. And in the system, I don't know if that's just in Atlanta or across the country. I guess children are one of the biggest deals as far as what's happening in their community. Wow. So this debate came up, and I would be embarrassed if I was the one that did not attend. And Mr. Wise, how wise it was, he did show up. And who did he debate? Because they still had to do a debate. An empty chair. And the way that they put this on, I cannot believe that they did this, but they did this. So he got to address and debate an empty chair. You'll see this when we show this. So we all know about Fanny. We don't know about Miss Kramer. She didn't show up. But Mr. Smith, Christian Smith, did. And he's a husband, father of four, and an attorney in Atlanta, Georgia. Before finishing high school, he grew up with some members of his family that were destroyed by murder, violence, drugs, and other crimes. And at 17 years old, he was kicked out of school. But the guy turned himself around. We're going to talk about some of the things that he wants to do for this community in Atlanta and see if he's the person for the job. Because you never know. Anything can happen. People can vote for people, whether they're Democrats, they may vote Democrats, whether they're Republicans, they may vote Republicans, or they may vote for third party. They may vote for your name at the top. They may vote for your name at the bottom. They may vote because they like your name. They may close your eyes and vote. You think about this for judges. How many people, and you can look at this in your city, how many people vote for judges and we don't know a clue who they are? But once we vote for them and we put them in that power, sometimes power corrupts absolute power. And then you can really take those people out. So we have to read up on some of these people. Mr. Christian Smith, he really believes he can win. And you're going to hear him tell the story. And in between, as he's talking, we're going to elaborate on some of the issues and some of the topics that some of the moderators have asked him about. So let's listen to this debate and watch this debate, because I tell you, you have never seen a debate like this. Christian Smith debating. And this is real, a chair.
Hello, I'm Donna Lowry, host of Lawmakers on Georgia Public Broadcasting. Welcome to the Atlanta Press Club Loudermilk Young debate series from the studios of Georgia Public Broadcasting. This is the debate for Fulton County District Attorney. Let's meet the candidates. Christian Smith is an author and attorney. Fanni Willis has served as Fulton County District Attorney since 2020. Miss Willis declined to participate in the debate and is represented by an empty podium.
So now you look at that now. So that's Miss Fanni Willis right there. She didn't show up, so they have an empty chair. And you're really going to put a debate, you're really going to show the empty chair. So I guess you are. So let's talk about Mr. Weissman for a minute. In 2017, he received the Attorney Award for Community Outreach. So this guy, he really did turn his life around. And we're going to hear and see about his story. And then we're going to hear from Miss Willis from her empty chair. I don't think so. Here's Mr. Smith.
Now let's meet our panelists. Tamar Hallerman is a senior reporter for the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, and Sam Greenglass is a politics reporter for WABE. For complete rules on today's program, please visit the Atlanta Press Club website, atlantapressclub.org. To start the program, the candidate will be asked one question by each panelist. He will have 60 seconds to answer their questions. Sam Greenglass, you get the first question to Christian Y. Smith.
Hi, Mr. Y. Smith. Thanks for being here. The Fulton County Jail is housing hundreds more people than it was designed to hold. Last year, 10 detainees died there. Most have not been convicted and are just awaiting trial, sometimes for months or even years. The DA is not responsible for conditions at the jail, but Fulton is still trying to dig out from a massive case backlog after the pandemic that reached more than 200,000 cases in 2022. What's your plan to address that backlog?
And before he addresses that too, I was doing some research, and the one thing I can say when they were talking about the backlog of the cases since the pandemic, the one thing that Miss Willis has done tirelessly is she has made that backlog smaller because she has done a lot of good things as far as catching up with cases, but nobody's talking about that.
Well, the district attorney does have something to do with the backlog, and the district attorney can do something about ending mass incarceration, right? When we see people dying in the jail, when we see the terrible conditions in the jail, when we see people sitting there for too long unindicted, that's absolutely a problem that the DA can try to fix. And one of the ways we do that is we create diversion programs for cases involving substance addiction, mental health, homelessness. Those are things that we can bring people through the system a lot faster to alleviate those problems in the jail and also address the backlog.
Again, it's interesting. I know some cities, some counties, they do have diversion situations. And diversion, excuse me, is pretty much, instead of you going to jail, you go to a diversion program and you try to work things out to alleviate you from eventually going to jail or getting on probation. I don't know how much, I don't know how many of these across the country there are, but it's almost like a common sense thing. If you want to keep people from going to jail, then put together a diversion program to keep them from going to jail. And with Mr. Smith talking, is this just something that they just thought of here in Atlanta?
All right. Tamar Hallerman, please ask your question to Mr. Y. Smith.
Thanks for doing this, Mr. Y. Smith. 4 years ago, you ran on a criminal justice reform platform that included things like not seeking the death penalty, ending cash bail, and not prosecuting many types of drug possession cases. Do you still take those positions today?
I've grown a lot in the last 4 years. The biggest way is understanding that crime is an issue that impacts all of us. So we should all have a seat at the table, right? I want to be community based and bringing the business community on board to help provide internship opportunities and job opportunities for people so that we can break the cycle of recidivism. I want to partner with all of the public schools in Fulton County so that we can be proactive and just showing up for our kids to help dismantle the school to prison pipeline. And having community resource providers, again, to address issues of homelessness, mental health, and substance addiction. Those are all things that we can do differently than we aren't seeing being done now. And if you want to say that those are progressive and bold, I still stand on that, and I do still stand on not seeking the death penalty and other progressive measures to make sure that Fulton County ends up becoming the safest county in the country.
So some of those issues that he just said, now, were those progressive issues having more collaborations or communications between the community and the schools? Are there other cities, states across the country that are doing some of the same things? So some of the things that he has said on his platform, he says equality, regardless of income, location, or skin color, everyone deserves a fair chance in the criminal justice system. Focusing on the victims also saves money, manpower, and time. Non-violent crimes could be diverted, he says. The DA's office should be working more closely with community resource providers, that's true, to attack homelessness, mental health issues, and substance abuse. And some of these, issues that he says he wants to do, it doesn't seem like it's anything that's totally crazy to me. Okay? He wants a robust victims services program. And the DA's office, he wants to give them an impact in rebuilding people's lives. So are they doing this in Fanni Willis's time?
That concludes the first round. In the second round, the candidates asked questions of each other. Since Fanni Willis declined to participate, Christian Y. Smith, you may pose a question to the empty podium. You also have 30 seconds to provide a rebuttal to how you feel your opponent would have responded.
So this is funny. He is going to ask a question of the chair. And then he's going to rebut the chair. You cannot make this up.
Hey, Ms. Willis, how you doing? My question for you is, where are you? I'm here because I care about the citizens and the families of Fulton County, but it's my understanding that you may have attended the White House Correspondents' Dinner, you may be fundraising across the country, but what about us here in Fulton County?
Again, look at this picture. He, Mr. Smith, straight face, is debating an empty chair and talking to the chair and asking the chair, where's the person who's supposed to be in that chair, with a straight face. And this is where our money is going.
What are you doing to address the issues in the jail? What are you doing to address the backlog? Where are you, Ms. Willis? That's what we want to know.
Do you have a rebuttal?
Well, I can't speak for.
He can't speak for the chair, but he's going to speak.
Ms. Willis, as she's not here, and I think that her absence is all the response that we need.
All right. That concludes our second round. You are watching the debate for Fulton County District Attorney, Fanni.
With Mr. Smith, and an empty chair. Remember that. These are the people that you're voting for.
Willis declined to participate and is represented by an empty podium. We will now go back to the panel to ask questions to Mr. Wise Smith until we run out of time. Tamar Hallerman, you get the first question.
Mr. Wise Smith, DA Willis's office has been criticized for devoting substantial taxpayer resources to prosecuting former President Donald Trump and 14 of his allies. If you win, will you continue that case, the election interference case? And if you do, will you continue pursuing DA Willis's strategy of using the state's racketeering law to do it?
That issue is important to us here in Fulton County and a lot of people across the country. We all heard the phone call. We all saw what happened on January 6, 2021. But you have to do things differently. You know, when you pay one attorney nearly $1 million to handle one case, that leaves the rest of us vulnerable. That hurts everyone else in Fulton County. You know, I worked in that office and my salary was significantly less than what that attorney was paid. And
So why don't you just say you're talking about Nathaniel Wade, the attorney that was paid almost $1 million. We as people, or the politicians, when they're asked a question, just answer the question truthfully. Don't be vague. We know the attorney was Nathan Wade, who was paid almost $1 million.
And I was responsible for handling a lot more cases than one. So we have to make sure that we see that case through in the best way possible while also addressing everything else that impacts us in Fulton County. Women don't feel safe stopping at the gas pump at night. You know, I know victims of domestic violence who feel like their cases are being neglected and overlooked. So we need a DA who understands that we can pursue the big high profile cases while not leaving everybody else in Fulton County left behind.
And that's with any city, because people are scared sometimes to go get gas depending on what part of the day and time. And we should have more police and more security and people feeling this is a safe place for me to live. It's not just in Fulton County, it's across America.
Sam Greenglass.
The district attorney in Athens, Clark County, Deborah Gonzalez, is a former state representative with a background in academia and media and entertainment law, but no experience as a prosecutor. Since taking office, she's been plagued by accusations of mismanagement, which she's denied. Why should voters trust that you have the experience to manage the busiest DA's office in the state?
And again, how much does experience exceed the job that you can do? We elected a president of the United States of America. For people to move up, sometimes you have to take chances on people. All people want is one chance to do better. That's why a lot of people are, and it should be more, wanting to run for office, because they see who's in office and they say, well, maybe I can do better. And if you don't have the experience, then you surround yourself with people that have different types of experience. And you look at the vision of some of these people that are running. Mr. Smith would like communication and transparency. And that's with any position. The DA position, is there communication and transparency with us now? Restitution and restorative justice. So victims, they need closure. And that includes being repaid for losses and being able to confront their victimizer. And that's kind of interesting. How many people want to confront the people who hurt them? Kind of like a rape victim. If there are people out there, then this would be a good thing for some of the people who were victims to confront the people that victimize them. That's one of his things. He wants the DA's office to have a justice system that truly serves its victims. So, how many people now with Fanni Willis in for this one term feel that she's done that? Wow. He wants to partner with community resource providers to help people who are struggling that would also refocus the DA's office on more serious and violent crimes. So he wants more collaboration between the community, but the community would have to trust the authorities. And some people in communities do not trust authorities. So how do you get that trust? How do you get that bond?
Well, first, my life experience separates me from any other DA in the country, I'd argue. I grew up seeing my mom and grandma and several family members and friends get arrested. At 15, my mom lost custody of me. At 17, I was kicked out of school and headed toward a life of crime. So my life experience far separates me and gives me some inside information on some things that we can do differently to change the system. But in addition to that, I have a master's degree in management. And, obviously, in addition to my law degree, I've worked in Grady Health System 3 separate times. Grady is the largest healthcare system in the Southeast. I led a $70 million project there. And I worked as chief of staff in Atlanta City Council. So I understand what it means to collaborate and work with other governments, entities, and agencies to make sure that we're doing what we can do best here to serve the citizens of Fulton County to make this the best justice system in the country.
And the other thing too that I liked about him, in 2017, he received the United States Attorney Award for community outreach. So with his experience, can you put him in a place as far as being the next DA? Especially when the person who is the DA hasn't even shown up at the event to debate her opponent.
Just a follow-up question, but do you have the experience to try a high-profile felony case? And if you believe you do, can you talk about a past experience you have that would inform how you would handle such a case?
And it does sound like a job interview because, if you've been in a job interview, they'll ask you, can you tell me something that you've done in one of your previous jobs where it made a difference? Can you give me an example? And he's already said what he could do, but they've asked him twice about experience. So now they kind of want something that they say is kind of similar to the position that you're applying for.
So I was a prosecutor for 7 years, 5 years on the municipal court level, nearly 2 on a felony level. And I understand collaboration, right? I understand what it means to bring in attorneys who have the experience on those kind of cases in office where we don't need to spend nearly $1 million to hire someone outside of office to take care of that kind of case. And that ties back to my experience of leading, $70 million plus projects at Grady and working in city government to understand what it means to delegate and collaborate to accomplish a common goal.
So did he explain to you guys to the experience that he has? He doesn't have DA experience, but he's got experience underneath where he's done collaborations, he's done stuff in the community, he's worked on a bunch of different cases. What all do you need?
Mr. Wise-Smith, you recently held a campaign fundraiser with the music executive Kevin Liles, whose record label represents the Atlanta rapper Young Thug. Mr. Liles and others have been very critical of DA Willis's use of rap lyrics against Young Thug and others in the YSL gang case. If you win this race as district attorney, first, will you continue the YSL case? And second, would you continue to use lyrics of any kind as evidence against people in cases?
So the trial in that case, is ongoing. So I don't want to speculate or say anything that could taint that jury or, be unfair to either side in that case. But I will say, with the background that I have, hip hop was a very important part of my life. I know in this country that there have been hundreds of prosecutions of Black men, hip hop artists using their lyrics. One in particular, a rapper from No Limit Records in the 90s was sentenced to 30 years with no physical evidence. There was no gun, no DNA, no blood. They only used the lyrics from one of his songs. And so
I'm going to talk to you about that case too. So this guy, his name is Walter Flo DeGry, and he was a rapper. He was sentenced to life in prison for a 2015 double murder that killed brothers in New Orleans East. So this is a picture of the guy, if you can see that. So how to say they got him? They say his name is DeGry. He dropped his cell phone at the murder scene and returned with a lie about dropping his phone. He was later charged, but this is where this gets interesting. In May 2019, he was found guilty of 2 counts of second-degree murder and conspiracy to commit second-degree murder by a jury vote of 11-1. Now remember this, a jury vote of 11-1, and he was sentenced to life in prison. He was tried separately for obstruction of justice and conspiracy to commit obstruction of justice, to which he pled guilty. So he pled guilty to that. But on April 20th, 2020, the United States Supreme Court in Ramos versus Louisiana, it overruled a line of Louisiana jurisprudence, and it held that the defendant's Sixth Amendment right to a jury trial, so his right to a jury trial, as applied to the states by the 14th Amendment, requires an unanimous jury verdict for a state felony conviction. But like I said before, he got convicted by a jury vote of 11-1. But in this amendment now, it requires an unanimous. So instead of 11-1, it has to be 12-0 that you're guilty. But he was found guilty at 11-1. So in the wake of this Supreme Court ruling, DeGry, he submitted an appeal to a sentencing in October 2020, which resulted, now listen to this, in his second-degree murder and conspiracy to commit second-degree murder charges being dropped. So if he's in jail for second-degree murder, but now they're dropped, why is he still in jail? While he's in jail, he's serving a 40-year sentence. So hopefully we'll see a follow-up about that, but Mr. Smith, he knows about that. And then when is there jail time for you, freedom of speech, being a rapper, being a singer? I'm going to go to this story right here before we get back to him. This guy right here, Tomas. Okay, you talk about how our country is. You think that guy life is bad. Listen to this one. So he's an Iranian rapper. His name is Tomas, and he was sentenced to death over music criticizing the government. So he was sentenced to death, not just life, but sentenced to death by an Iranian revolutionary court over songs that criticized the government. Wow. So the guy's 33. He was arrested multiple times in Iran for criticizing the regime's corruption and oppression of protests. Wow. And he did this music after the death of this one young lady, 22-year-old Amini. And so the Recording Academy says, and this is recent, they're deeply troubled by this. We stand with music creators around the globe who use their gifts to shed light on the human conditions and will continue to work tirelessly in freedom. Wow. Meek Mill is one of the people who was supporting him getting out of jail. Wow. So when you can't even write music and express yourself, because in some countries you're liable to go to jail. And then the one person, let me go back to this real quick. I thought it was interesting because the one lady, if I can find it, the one lady I talked about that died, she was 22 years old, and she died while in the custody of morality police for allegedly wearing a loose headscarf. That's why she was killed. We talk about our country. We talk about the crazy things that are going on in our country. Look at this. You can't even dress a different way or you'll get killed by the authorities. Or you can't even express yourself in music because you could go to jail. And with this DeGry person that he's talking about, supposedly the guy is innocent. But I'm going to let him finish this.
Oh, things like that, that's dangerous. If lyrics lead to physical evidence is fair game. But lyrics alone, I think that is dangerous. We don't see that being done in the music, in movie industry or film industry. It's only or any other genre of music. It's only being done to Black men in hip hop, and I think that's dangerous.
Thank you. Tamara, did you have a follow-up?
No.
Okay. Sam.
In general, DA Willis is known for her fondness of Georgia's racketeering law, or RICO, for these larger cases, sometimes involving upwards of dozens of defendants, sometimes sweeping in lower level people, such as the APS cheating scandal, YSL, the election interference cases. Do you think RICO is overused, as we often hear from some defense attorneys?
So for those out there, we've heard of RICO, but what exactly is RICO? It's been infamously used since Fanni Willis has been in office. So it's the Georgia's Racketeering, Influence, and Corruption Organization, RICO. It allows prosecutors to pursue criminal enterprises, and it was based on, man, this is kind of crazy. Back from the early part of the century, and it's involving money laundering, bribery, drug trafficking, and other criminal offenses. So it's a big widespread. And she's used this a lot. The YSL case, the teacher scandal, where the teachers were fudging. I don't know if you know about that, but some teachers, they went to jail because they were fudging grades to get money from the government to help support their school system. So she's been using this since she's been in office. Some people say that the teacher scandal was too deep and that some of these teachers should not have had the penalties that they had as far as going to jail. But if you can't do the crime, then don't do the time or whatever that means. Just don't get yourself in any trouble where you'll go to jail and you will eventually get caught. So RICO, and this is what Fanni Willis says, is a tool that allows a prosecutor's office and law enforcement to tell the whole story. We use it as a tool so they can have all the information they need to make a wise decision, Willis explained. The reason that I am a fan of RICO is I think jurors are very, very intelligent. Wow. And this YSL case has been going on for a couple of years. Some people say it's going on too long. He never answered the question if he would continue to use RICO in the YSL case and some of these other cases. But we're using this RICO case in the Donald Trump case. And do we need to use it in that? He's not really answering the question, though.
Absolutely. The Atlanta teacher case is a perfect example of that. The RICO Act was designed in mind with organized crime and mobsters and gangsters back in the 70s. And so to be overbroad and use something like that and trying to sweep across a lot of teachers, I thought that was an overreach and misuse of the DA's office. So, once I take office, we'll make sure we're using that in the appropriate way and not using it for everything.
Tamar.
Mr. Wise-Smith, we haven't seen a ton of polling in this race so far, but the one poll that we did see released, I believe Fox 5 reported it, had you at about 9% support of those polled. Do you think you have a path to victory at this point? And what is the coalition that?
So she's asking him 9%. Does he have a chance? He feels he does have a chance. And when you're running and you're heartfelt, hopefully he's heartfelt, you really feel that you can win. It's the underdog. It's getting out there. You may not have the money, but if people listen to your message, maybe they will believe in you and your percentage points will be higher than 9%.
That you think could deliver you there?
Absolutely. I'm pretty sure that poll didn't, seek out first-time voters or young voters or people who want to see fresh energy and new ideas in the DA's office. I'm sure that poll only focused on a specific demographic of people. And I understand a little bit of the game and how polls work. But I'm confident that we will excite a lot of first-time voters and young voters, people from the cannabis community who agree that we should legalize, and a lot of folks who just want to see change.
Yeah, that's interesting because the cannabis community, boy, if he's going after them, they really want him in office to pass that law. They'll be like, yay, go Wise.
The definition of insanity is to do the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. And I'm campaigning on something that hasn't been done in the South before, and I think we will excite a lot of people who will come out and vote to see those changes.
Tamar, follow-up?
Yeah.
Oh, and I'm campaigning on something that hasn't been done in the South before, and I think we will excite a lot of people who will come out and vote to see those changes.
Tamar, follow-up?
Yeah, if you do not win this primary race, will you endorse Miss Willis, or are there concessions that you would like to see from her?
And when people ask that question, if you don't win, will you endorse? Then why are you running if you don't believe in them? Do you think, okay, if I'm at 9% and she wins, is she really gonna listen to any of the concessions I want? Don't think so.
Well, right now, I'm not focused on losing. I'm focused on gaining your vote. And I'm asking everybody watching this to vote Christian Wise-Smith for Fulton County District Attorney on May 21st. Early voting starts April 29th. Wise up.
All right. Thank you. That is all the time we have for questions.
And I like that. He said, wise up. That's a nice campaign slogan. Wise up. That's with any politician. If you don't like them, vote them out. So again, closing statements. Why should anybody vote for Mr. Smith?
Christian Wise-Smith will now have 60 seconds for a closing statement.
Fulton County, I'm running to make us the safest justice system in the United States of America. I want the president to call us and look at us as the model on how you do local criminal justice. We do this by focusing on victim-centered prosecution, ending mass incarceration, and dismantling the school-to-prison pipeline. And I've seen each of these three things firsthand, so I know they work. I diverted a 17-year-old high school senior for possession who went on to graduate from college and play in the NFL. My mother suffers from a mental disability And I've seen her constantly go through the system where if she would have been partnered with some folks, it could have changed her life and changed my life. And diverting or dismantling the school to prison pipeline is exactly why I'm here. It was a police officer named Bill Dean who stepped in for me and spoke positivity in my life and showed up for me. And that's what I want to do for not only my kids, but your kids. And that's how we make Fulton County the safest and best justice system in the country. So again, vote Christian Wise Smith for Fulton DA on May 21st. Thank you.
That concludes our program. We'd like to remind voters that early voting begins.
And there we have it, Christian Wise Smith, debating an empty chair. Wow. We apologize for the buffing. As good as technology is, we still see the bad of it. You know, we take the good and the bad. But we hope throughout all that you got a chance to hear about this guy, learn a bit about this guy, some of his just issues. And again, it's not just voting for him in that state, in that city. You think about this. So it's her, it's him, it's Fanni, and it's Courtney, who didn't show up either. And you're watching a debate where he is debating an empty chair. Think of all the money that was put in that. Think of what you're showing your community if you're in office. And I can tell you for a fact, for running for office, you have a lot of politicians who, there's too many unopposed, and there's too many after they get in office, they don't come back to the community. It's going to be interesting to see what the results are for that particular race. Who's going to win? What's he going to do? Is he just making a name for himself to step up a little bit, or is he really being committed? The interesting thing is after that election, for this election, is he still going to be around? If he's going to be around, it means he's committed. If he's not, oh well, it was just something he was doing. So you've been watching. Yours truly, Anthony Parker Alexander of Keeping It Honest. We don't just keep it simple. We don't just keep it real. We keep it honest. Politically wise, as I said, I ran for Congress not too long ago. And I ran to show people, again, if you do not like who's in office, then you run or get somebody else to run. Because we have to hold some of these people accountable. Some people are voted in. Like I said, we don't even know who they are, and we vote for them. But then we can't get them out. But then we don't vote for the ones who are passionate, who are really out there, who are trying to make a difference in this world. Because these are dangerous times and dangerous times coming up ahead. And I know more than ever when spiritual people say, religious people say, we pray for our leaders. The way this world is going, we have to pray for our leaders. And if we're praying for them and we're not satisfied, then we become the leaders, or we find leaders that can be leaders. You don't have to have a title to make a difference, really. It does help, but again, you don't have to have a title to make a difference. So keep being you and keep being that leader. If you don't see anybody else around, then you be that leader to help change the world. Now say it. Questions or comments, you can email yours truly, parkerman2011@gmail.com, parkerman2011@gmail.com. You can text me, 216-702-3718, 216-702-3718. Go to my Patriot page, and that is a page pretty much where there's a couple of tiers if you want to sponsor or help me with the hard work that I do, be a part of my family. You get on Patriot, type in Keeping It Honest, yours truly, Anthony Parker, and there'll be 3 tiers if you would like to donate to help this show continue to grow, this program to continue to grow, to join our family. Think of it as PBS. You contribute to help those quality programs grow. It's kind of like this. Help this quality program grow. Let's just keep it honest. I thank you for your support. Don't forget to hit the like, the share, the subscribe button. Tell your friends. No topic is off kilter. But you know, when they do come on my show and we talk about it, we are really fair, balanced, and legitimate. Okay? Just keeping it honest. So in closing, keep your head up, never look down, always believe in yourself, and therein will lie your answer. I'm Anthony Parker Alexander, keeping it honest. God bless.